Legend says that when the sun set over Baghdad, the most powerful man in the world would trade his silk robes for rags. He'd slip through the crowded night markets, an anonymous beggar watching how his people actually lived. This is the Harun al-Rashid of popular folklore, the wise, adventurous king of the 1001 Nights, a ruler defined by magic carpets and the whimsical pursuit of justice. But look at this 8th century map, the round city of Baghdad, a masterpiece of geometric engineering locked behind concentric fortifications. Straddling the Tigris River, anchoring a vast canal network, this was the heavily militarized command center of an expanding empire. The man sitting at the center of those walls ruled as the ruthless architect of a massive military state, and his survival demanded absolute control. In 786, Harun's older brother, the Caliph al-Hadi, died in September under highly suspicious circumstances. Within hours, a 20-year-old Harun ascended to the throne. He took control of a territory that stretched from the shores of North Africa all the way to Central Asia. It was a sprawling, volatile domain, constantly fracturing under the weight of tribal rivalries and regional rebellions. Early Islamic rulers had lived modestly, requiring subjects only to bow before God. Harun discarded that completely. He built sprawling palaces and required any courtier entering his presence to literally kiss the ground at his feet. He adopted the title, the Shadow of God on Earth. To ensure everyone understood exactly what that meant, he was constantly accompanied by a personal executioner, a visual reminder that he held the power of life and death in the room. Stepping into a massive political vacuum at such a young age meant he couldn't rely on loyalty alone. He had to project absolute terror alongside absolute awe. By locking down domestic dissent, Harun consolidated total control over the Silk Road and the major trade arteries connecting Europe, Asia, and Africa. Look at this coin. This is an Abbasid gold dinar from his reign. Millions of these circulated from the Silk Road to the Mediterranean, anchoring an economy that funded the most sophisticated markets of the medieval world. Harun used this immense wealth diplomatically. Instead of engaging with local rivals, he reached across continents to establish relations with distant European powers. In 799, he sent a diplomatic delegation to the king of the Franks, Charlemagne. The Abbasid envoys presented the European ruler with extraordinary gifts, including an elephant and an intricate mechanical water clock. These items were calculated geopolitical flexes. They proved that Abbasid engineering and economic reach vastly outpaced anything the West could produce at the time. Having secured the physical trade routes, Harun turned his attention toward a new domain, global knowledge. He laid the groundwork for an institution that would become known as the House of Wisdom. Look at this manuscript. Harun funded a massive movement, paying scholars to travel, collect Greek, Persian, and Indian texts, and translate them. Gathering these allowed scholars to cross-reference ideas, driving breakthroughs in algebra, astronomy, and medicine that defined the Islamic Golden Age. He pioneered the concept of big science. Harun was the first ruler to finance massive, organized research teams specifically to solve complex, state-sponsored problems, like mapping the world and building accurate astronomical observatories. Steel secured the borders, but the systematic accumulation of the world's knowledge ensured that Baghdad remained the necessary destination for anyone seeking to advance in medicine, mathematics, or law. To manage this booming intellectual and economic powerhouse, Harun relied heavily on the Barmakids, a brilliant Persian family of viziers running the day-to-day administration of his empire. They did their jobs exceptionally well. Their administrative competence and public generosity earned them a dangerous level of popularity, which slowly triggered Harun's deep-seated paranoia about losing absolute control. In 803, that paranoia boiled over. Harun shocked the entire court by ordering his executioner to behead his closest friend and chief vizier, Jafar. He proceeded to throw the rest of the Barmakid family into prison and strip them of all their wealth, crippling the very administrative framework that had stabilized his government. This exposes the brutal paradox of Harun's reign. The intense cultural enlightenment of the Golden Age was completely underwritten by his capacity for sudden, unyielding political violence. In 809, while leading a military campaign to crush yet another rebellion in eastern Persia, Harun fell suddenly ill and died. Almost immediately, his meticulously constructed empire fractured. His sons dragged the Abbasid state into a devastating civil war, proving the extreme fragility of a government held together purely by fear and the sword. Yet, while his political borders collapsed, his intellectual empire survived. The House of Wisdom outlasted the civil war and thrived for centuries, continuing to draw the sharpest minds in the world to Baghdad. The borders Harun drew eventually vanished, but the House of Wisdom preserved the essential vocabulary of mathematics and medicine, like Indian numerals and Greek surgical techniques, that scholars would rely on for the next half-millennium. Ultimately, his legacy isn't the magic of the 1001 Nights. It is the infrastructure of the Golden Age itself, a period where absolute authority was used to build a sanctuary for the world's collective knowledge.